Toto. I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
Hello everybody, hope you are going well. It's a chill out chat today. I wanted to talk about a movie topic that has been eternally interesting to me and that I've been watching unfold over the past several years with very keen eyes. This is of course the Netflix versus theatre debate, which has just been continuing to unfold. Now, it's been about 1 year since I last talked about this topic, and that was during the 2018 Cannes Film Festival when the president of Cannes very publicly discredited Netflix produced and distributed films and films that had home theatrical releases, disqualifying them from the prestige of the Cannes Film Festival and really drawing this very defined line in the sand about what was theatrical and highbrow cinema and worthy of being shown at a prestigious film festival like Cannes against what is Netflix, what is video on demand, streaming, and straight to TV movies. Like, TV movies has a very specific connotation of being low budget and low quality, and that of course is really not the trend of where TV movies have gone in the past 5 years, right? The quality of Netflix movies is just astronomical. I wrote a full opinion piece about this over on my blog. I'll leave a link if you wanted to see exactly how I thought at the time that this was going down this time last year, and it really felt very much like this particular Simpsons meme which I used in the article, like old man yells at cloud. It feels like pushing against the oncoming tide, you know, like times are changing and drawing a distinct line in the sand saying what is theatrical versus what is not, like home streaming and not worthy of being classified in this theatrical film category. It's a way of thinking that is really old-fashioned and outdated and just seems like it's not going to work moving forward. Now, of course, the main catalyst for this debate flaring up again in the media recently is the 91st Academy Awards and Roma taking home 3 Oscars. It was nominated for 10 categories and took home in the end Best Director, Best Cinematographer, and Best Foreign Language Film. So Roma is a Netflix produced and distributed film. It did have a very quick and quiet theatrical release, only so that it was eligible to qualify for the Oscars. So to be an Oscars film, it had to have some kind of theatrical release. So Roma did screen very limited in theaters as well as having its full Netflix release. So it was simultaneously distributed at home. I don't know the exact timeline of how they got around those very specific rules, but it wasn't until later down the track that it had a wider theatrical release once it got its nominations. And I absolutely adored Roma. I can't tell you how pleased I am to have seen Cuarón's passion project be like formally recognized on this world platform as prestigious as the Oscars, because the line has completely blurred between cinematic quality and the type of quality that we can see in our own homes. And because of this, traditional systems that have been in place for decades will have to change and adapt with the shifting of the times. That is absolutely just inevitable. The great example of what happened with Roma, because it had its really quick limited theatrical release in just a few cinemas and then of course had its big Netflix situation. Now, because it was then nominated for the Oscars, there were certain cinemas, in this instance AMC in America, was then unable to screen Roma later down the track once it was nominated for an Oscar. These cinemas, or many cinema chains, like to screen all the Oscar nominated films, and they were unable to screen Roma because they did not have a proper deal set up for this distribution, they have their policy in place that when something is screened in cinemas, there should be a 90-day period between when it can screen at home, you know, have its at home release. So because there's that disparity there, they were just unable to screen Roma for whatever political and very complicated wheeling and dealing reasons there were. Roma was unable to screen in cinemas later down the track after it was nominated for all these Academy Awards. So that just shows that the policies just need to change. There is a true disconnect happening in a world where a film can be nominated for 10 Academy Awards and not be eligible or able, because of some political jargon, to screen in cinemas. To then further that point, it's not always as simple as streaming versus theatrical releases. That's where the disparity, I think, is coming into play, is that there needs to be some kind of harmony moving forward with this whole distribution model. So what we've seen happen just recently is directors starting to add their ideas and their voice to the conversation of how we can sort this whole thing out. Two directors are Sean Baker, who is an indie director from the Florida Project, from Tangerine, and also Paul Schrader, whose film First Reformed was phenomenal last year. It was nominated for a screenplay award, and Ethan Hawke not getting nominated for Best Actor for that was an absolute travesty. Now, Paul Schrader actually has an interesting argument to this, which he posted, I think, on Facebook, which I was reading, and his film First Reformed, it's a very slow burn, socio-political film. It's got a very artistic and art house style to it. It's slow moving, and you know, it's a little bit strange and surreal. So because of that, Netflix actually passed on the film, and instead the film was released by indie art house studio A24. So it found its home on A24, and then it was released in cinemas under the banner of A24, and had a quite successful, if not, you know, small and artistic sort of like release, and did really, really well. I, for one, loved it, and it deserves so much more love and attention. However, Paul Schrader was saying that if his film First Reformed was released on Netflix, it probably would have just gone into the ether of and Rolodex of titles that come up every month and might not have found its more art house audience that it would have gained from a theatrical release. So in this particular instance, it was a really great call that First Reformed had a theatre release and was distributed on A24, as opposed to having an at-home at-home release on Netflix. So that, as an example, is a film which benefited immensely from having a theatrical release. So when it comes to Netflix, it's not necessarily that Netflix is the way of the future. There has to be a balance between at-home releases and theatrical releases. So Sean Baker, what he was saying was, he was talking, I'm actually going to read what he posted. He was talking about Netflix offering, you know, these are just ideas that these directors are kind of brainstorming of how we can move forward, trying to split a balance between what we see at home on our televisions versus what we see at the movies. And he was saying, you know, what if Netflix offered a theatrical tier for their pricing plans? You know, for a fee, Netflix members could see Netflix films for free. You know, if they subscribe to Netflix, then you can see Netflix films for free in cinemas, you know, for a sort of a nominal fee extra. And that would be possibly a good balance between being able to have the spectacle of seeing a film on the big screen as it was intended, as it deserves to be seen, especially a film like Roma, being able to see that in cinemas, so that Netflix isn't being shut out of the theatrical release debate, that there is some kind of deal struck up between it. It's not at home versus in theaters, that there is some kind of going on where Netflix can stream in theaters and not have all this disconnect political stuff going down. Okay guys, there you have it. They are some of my thoughts on how we are currently sitting right now today in the Netflix versus theatrical debate, and how we should think about moving forward with this discussion and how policies can think about adapting so that it doesn't have to be one thing versus the other, that there has to be a more integrated solution moving forward. Guys, make sure you leave me comments in the comment section down below. Let me know what you guys think about this. We can talk about it a little bit more. Don't forget, you can also subscribe to my channel here and keep up to date with all things movies and TV. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.